Welcome everyone to Health Coach TV. I'm your host, Dr. Shaunna Menard, and I am here with the amazing Dr. Karen Stillman. Welcome, Karen.
Hi.
You're going to love this episode. We're going to talk about fertility. And so many women struggle with infertility. And right here, we have the baby making genius. Dr. Karen is incredible, both personally and professionally. This is a different topic than maybe that we've covered before, but oh my goodness, don't miss this, because even if you're not trying to get pregnant, what she's been able to do with these impossible cases from not having a baby to becoming pregnant when the world said you couldn't, we can apply that to anything, any kind of goal. So we're going to really dive deep here today. So let me give you a proper introduction. Dr. Karen Stillman helps women conceive their babies. After 24 years as a medical doctor and over 3 decades of personal development, she's truly discovered how to enhance fertility naturally and increase the likelihood of getting pregnant. So Dr. Karen started with her own struggles and found success twice, not once, but 2 beautiful babies. So while practicing obstetrics and gynecology, she saw hundreds of women who wanted that medical quick fix. Who wouldn't? And as she did that workup, the patients waited for their reproductive endocrinology and infertility consultations, Dr. Karen wove in her personal approach, her little magic that she works here. And many women found themselves pregnant before attending that appointment. How awesome would that be? So she decided to share her very powerful story, very powerful, and wrote Pincushion to Pregnant. And it's all about how to take back control of your baby making by looking at the basics of wellness. So Dr. Karen believes that every woman who desires to have a baby can. She has made it her mission to raise awareness that if you believe, you can conceive. Dr. Karen loves baking, gardening, hiking, and biking, most anything outdoors, especially the ocean. And she lives near her 2 adult children in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada. So welcome, really a sister from another mister, the baby making genius herself, Dr. Karen Stillman. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shaunna. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, we're going to have a really good time. Let's first off tell people, you were a obs-gyne doc. What do you do now? What is it that you do now?
Well, I am delighted that I get to help women, busy professional women, especially over 35, who are struggling to have that baby. I help them enhance their fertility naturally, increase that pregnancy potential so they can have those babies.
Awesome. So let's dive into your story, because it's phenomenal. And so how did you go from, obs-gyne doc to somebody who is in this line of work of helping women get pregnant? And, so many women are just desperate to become pregnant and have that baby. So tell us about your story. It's a good one. I remember when I first heard it, I got goosebumps all over when I heard that. So I know it really intertwines your personal and your professional story. So share what happened. How did this come to be?
Well, when I got married, I married the man of my dreams and thought life was grand. I was in my medical residency training program. Well, I accepted, but in the internship phase, so doing a little bit of everything. And we had decided that we were going to have babies. We weren't going to wait. We were a little bit older, and that was the time. And trying, and there was no success. And then I was working with, peeing on the sticks and looking at blood tests, checking my ovulation. I was having ultrasounds, other investigations. Time went by. I'm in now the obstetrics and gynecology residency training program with access to everybody, and I'm not getting pregnant. They're sending me for more tests, and I'm doing more things, and I'm struggling. I do feel like that pincushion of poking and prodding, having serial blood work, in the cycle, with the next cycle, and it was just nothing was having success. And I'm feeling quite overwhelmed. I'm busy with work, but we're now 1.5 years into the marriage, and it's like, wow, like we're having no success. And because I'm starting to fight now with my husband, we are not getting along. And so it's like, oh my gosh, there's another mountain to climb. And so I take a week off and go home to visit my mom and dad. Time for a little R&R. Yeah. And my mom is my rock. My mom has been my biggest supporter throughout my entire life. And not that dad hasn't, but mom is just, as the women who are trying to have babies know, there's nothing like your mom. And so when I'm there talking to her and having some conversation, she's so supportive. And we go back to that conversation of, remember when you were 13? Because the reason why my husband and I started right away was because I knew I only had one tube. You see, I had an appendix removed at age 13, which was normal, and I had this he called it necrotic and decaying fallopian tube, which looked awful, which was removed. And at the 6-week checkup with that doctor, he looked at me, then he looked at my mom, and he said to her, she's going to struggle to get pregnant. And I didn't remember much of anything else. And so I knew I wanted to have babies, and that was what we were going to do. And while I'm having this conversation with my mom, she leans in and says, darling, do you remember what you said to me on that car ride home after that appointment? I had no memory, no recollection. So she puts her hands on her hips, imitates the, at the time, indignant Karen. Dear, you said, no one, not even him, is going to tell me I can't have my 2 babies, a boy first and a girl second, just like you, Mom. I just started crying. The tears were pouring down my face. Mom and I have this big, huge hug, and it's like the light bulb went off. Like I just felt like I could breathe. Everything was going to be okay. And so I finished my visit. I go back to my husband and I tell him, we're going to just let go all of this medical management of our baby making and not look at the science stuff and do all these testings. We're going to have a baby. I've just decided, I've redecided, it's going to happen. And we did a few other things along the way, but 3 months later, I'm pregnant. 9 months later, I deliver my beautiful baby boy, Jacob. And when Jacob is 2 years old, we have that conversation about baby number 2. And I get off the pill thinking, I don't know how long it's going to take. 6 weeks. I'm pregnant. They're 2 years and 9 months apart. And I have the most beautiful, I had a C-section with Jacob, and I used some of these tools that I've worked with, and I had the most beautiful vaginal birth after cesarean. I had a successful VBAC that was fantastic for my lovely daughter, Sarah.
That is so good. I get goosebumps every time you tell me about, right back from that moment when you're 13 and just say, no one, not even a doctor, no one's going to tell me I can't have a baby. And the innocence and the powerfulness of that declaration, I'm doing it. And so powerful. And then how awesome for your mom to remind you of that as well. Also very good. And so that's awesome, Karen. And also a boy and a girl, just like you ordered, just like you asked for, is so powerful. And so I just, the irony, I don't know what the words are, but the placement, the juxtaposition here of an obs-gyne doc who's delivering baby after baby after baby for other women,
yes,
who has access to all of the medical science at her fingertips, the best of the best, and just can't conceive. And then let it all go, get back to the roots, get back to that, and not trying too hard, letting it all go, because it was, being a pincushion. And then for it to happen, boom, boom, perfect and ideal. So that's incredible. Okay. So that's really great. That's every woman's dream come true, really, that is wanting to have a baby. So tell us, okay, that's one thing to be reminded, I'm going to do it, but there had to be more to it. How do you explain that? Because it's not like you didn't want to have a baby. It's not like you might have said somewhere in that year and a half when you're struggling and fighting and trying and getting poked and prodded, somewhere in there, you probably said, that's it. I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to have a baby. But it was different. And so tell us more about how that works, or some a little bit of that.
Well, it's our thinking process. We do have this, what you think about, you bring about, and our thoughts are really powerful. And most people don't know the power of that. Mm-hmm. Everything is a thought first and a thing second. And the emotion that I bring to my thought has a deep impact on the results. So if it's like, I'm not pregnant. And it's that strong emotion of negativity. That's that neural pathway that becomes stronger and more ingrained. So I dropped down to like fear, anxiety, worry. I was depressed. I wasn't, the anxiousness came first, and then that depression, overwhelm came next. And then it was the shame, and I'm a failure. Not even, not just with the cycles and getting pregnant. I'm a failure as a woman. Like, what am I designed to do? Like, I'm made to have babies and I can't even get pregnant. Like,
Yeah.
the thought process was there's something wrong with me. I'm a failure. And then it's like, oh my gosh, am I gonna have my period? I'm afraid. Like, it's a vicious cycle of fear, failure, anxiety, overwhelm, and trying to get out of that rat race. It was huge trying to get off of that carousel of going around and around and around. You think, well, it'll spin you off, but it spins you off and knocks you down, and you got scraped knees and scraped elbows. And how do I get back on and get going again?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that,
I think, it's powerful. It's easier said than done.
yes,
'Cause at this point in the world, not maybe 20 years ago, especially not when you conceived your children, but more and more now, people are hearing, I think, about that we, what we think about is important. It's relevant. It matters. I think people are starting to accept that more. But even still, it's easier said than done, especially when the doctor declares you're going to struggle to get pregnant. Fortunately, as a 13-year-old in your innocence, you sort of said, yeah, I'm rejecting that. You're not telling me what to do. How awesome. Let's get that rebellious teenage spirit in there. That's put to a good use. That's a good use of a rebellious teenage spirit. But then when the doctors subsequently are reaffirming, yep, you can't, and when the results are there, and it's one thing to say, don't notice that you don't have a baby, but you really want one, and it's hard not to notice. And we were talking earlier, both of us, both in our medical careers and personally, know of people, so many women who get pregnant after they adopt a baby. So, they adopt a baby, they no longer have the problem, I don't have a baby, and then they get pregnant all the time. One of our clients.
gosh.
Yeah. So there's that. And I know in your book, and the other thing too, is I remember hearing from, Dr. Bernie Siegel, and he talks about words that harm, words that heal. And sometimes, doctors it might be well-meaning, but they proclaim a death sentence or a truth that people believe and they buy into. And I know I think in your book, Pincushion to Pregnant, I think you reference, is it Dr. Lisa Rankin and maybe Dr.
Lisa
Bruce?
Rankin, I reference. She refers not specifically to infertility. She does mention it in a couple of places, but all the different studies, heart disease, diabetes, all sorts of other conditions, variety of different cancers, and what people believed happened, and then go back to look and see on autopsy, there was nothing there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So someone believed that they were going to die. Their likelihood to live, their predicted longevity was 3 to 6 months, and they died in that time frame.
Yeah, over and over. Yeah, it's powerful.
Documented that what you think about, you
Yeah.
can think about. So we want to make sure we're careful with how we use our thinking and the emotions that we attach to that. Because
Yeah.
I think we may know something, but do we only know of it? Do we know it by experience?
Yeah. So it's one thing and now what you're talking about here and what you did and what you help others do, it's more than, power of positive thoughts though, too, right?
Absolutely.
Like, there's more to it than that. It's not just, oh, I just said it and it is. There's more to it. There's nutrition. There's all sorts of things.
Even meditating a baby into your body, if that would happen, everybody go into caves and meditating for however long and having a baby. There is more to it. Yeah,
there's absolutely there's a whole book or a whole book to it, in fact. So, but is this why you decided to become a health coach? Is that what, after seeing, after struggling through it and going, You know what? I defied the odds. I did it. But differently than what's out there. And is that what had you say, hey, I'm gonna be a fertility coach. I'm gonna help women through this.
Absolutely. It is a big part of that. You see, when I was in grade 10, I had this, I heard that I'm going to be an obstetrician gynecologist. It's like this voice in my head. Not a fertility specialist, not a naturopath, not a, like, there could be so many things that I heard, and that's what I heard. And I went down that path. I believe it was because so that I could see and experience my own struggles, what is, and really what could be when you look at things differently.
Yeah.
I had the relationship challenges. And when you go through all sorts of other stresses and trials and tribulations, I mean, look at as a world, we have come through a global pandemic, and stuff happens.
Yeah.
And when all the dust settled and looking at what do I want to do with my life, even though I had that wonderful heart-centered practice, I have so many great success stories of those women waiting for their fertility appointments because of the timeline and Canadian guidelines and regulations of that wait time could be 1 or 2 years. Women canceled appointments because they were pregnant. Women got there quicker because of, they could get in the door for whatever reasons, and they showed up pregnant. Or when they were having the other battery of tests, I saw that doctor, but they're hearing what Dr. Karen had said and doing some of the things that I put my own love spin on their approach, that this is the things that you can do while you're waiting. If you're worried and stressed, come see me more. Like, there's more that we can do. So I was doing that, and I just felt I can do more of that. I can serve these women better. I can stop being on call and do all the glorious things that I want to do, because I know what my life is like now with my 2 babies. Now they're grown, and I'm not a grandma yet, all in due time. But it's just those success stories are the ones that really touch my heart more than anything else. And I know that women can do this. There is a gap in our system, and
Yes.
I am here to bridge that gap. I am here with open arms, ready and able. I believe in you, and I want to impart to women, yeah, my story may not be exactly the same as yours, but I know there are things that we can do when the medical sciences say that, your age, you can't get there, with IVF or
Yeah.
assisted reproductive technologies. Oh, you're 39 or 40. That's only going to work 10, 12% for you at best case scenario. What are those odds? You're already stressed. You've got the financial stress. It's impacting your relationships, and maybe not just with your husband, because women come in to see me. They have sisters who have babies. They're aunties. And they're heartbroken that they don't have their own. They love their nieces and nephews. There's just something missing. And I feel I've helped find that, and I want to share that, because I believe that every woman who desires to have a baby can. And it's my mission to share this information with the world, because I want these women to have these babies. They're our future, and it's just so fantastic. Let's get it done.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And it really is a gap in the system. So this, almost everybody's going to go to their obs-gyne first. If they're trying and it's not working, that's where they're first going to, and they're going to get on that track. And the costs are high, financially, like you were saying, like financially, emotionally, relationships, on their health, on their time. They're trying to also work or do whatever. They're trying to get ahead. They're trying to afford a house. It's like that phase of life. And it's extremely costly. And if they get pregnant, they'd be happy. Like, you know what? Like, worth it. We had to do it. But for some, what happens when you pay the cut price and you don't get the baby? I mean, there's nothing left for people other than, well, you tried. That's it. And to know that once you get to the point where that's not it, there's more that you can do, and it doesn't need to be as painful as it was for you or for others. It doesn't have to take that long. It doesn't need to be that painful. Once you crack the code on it, there are absolutely things to do. We're gonna dive into that a little bit. That's a game changer for people, and very few people. I have a lot of health coaches that we talk to. Well, first, most of them don't have the caliber in terms of the obs-gyne background medical doctor that you do, but that's not why you're so successful. It's really that personal side of things, and what a great blend of everything that you bring to the table. But it's a unique niche. And, lots of people can help people with weight loss. For example, most people are like, oh, sorry, like that's too bad that you can't have a baby. And there's not really. So your work is really needed. And I know so many people, they're already kind of like just, they're desperate. So just to give them hope, just listening to this to know that there's hope. You've done it. You've helped others do it. Just maybe it's possible for them too. So how do you work with your clients? How does that work? When you're working with them, what does that look like?
Well, I'm delighted that with the result of the pandemic, I get to work with women globally. And Zoom is a great ability to bring them in and on board. So that reach of sharing this knowledge and information is fantastic. Most of my women are 35 to 40. They're at either they've been in this system and they've got a diagnosis and they're feeling stuck or more than stuck. They're stopped dead in their tracks.
Yes.
There's some women who are a little bit knowing, well, they decided they weren't going to do that yet. And so they know based on their age and where they're coming that they want to, maximize everything that they can before they get into this rat race of testing and cycles and assisted reproductive techniques, if that's the way they need to go based on how things are in that medical system. But I'm just delighted that once they meet me and I get to work with them, I just get to hold them by the hand, walk them through this process. I didn't create this process. I just codified and put it together so that, oh my gosh, like these things put together this way makes this difference.
Yes.
Wow. And I believe you can do it. And it's a different mentality, it's a different mindset, it's a different level of support that most women have never seen before. And I just love being able to go that extra mile by doing this as that wellness coach, as that transformational life coach with all the other training that I've taken and all the other pieces that are in my toolbox to help them move through this. And it just enlightens not only their health and wellness and awaken that baby making part of their reproductive tract. It has spin-off benefits and it's just so fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, just even to borrow from your belief is helpful, because you can get them there. I know my clients feel the same way. Like because I can see the path, I can know it, and then the more successes that you have, and the more successes they see, they're like, maybe it is possible. So, and that's the first hurdle is really just overcoming the fact that they're like, oh, this is never going to happen. So what do you think is the biggest myth when it comes to women getting pregnant and sort of the things that you see out there?
Oh, well, there are so many things that, I hear things and women say, well, I didn't put my legs up the wall for 30 minutes after intercourse, but now I've been doing that for 6 months. How much longer do I need to do that? Or maybe it's the tilting with the pillow. Other myths are, oh my gosh, I'm almost 35. That biological clock. I'm a time bomb. I'm a ticking time bomb. Well, no one wants to be a bomb. We're
No.
powerful. And then you don't have help on the medical aspect because at 35, you are labeled as an elderly primogravid woman. So that means elderly, you're old,
Yeah.
which doesn't make any woman feel good. The primiparous, primigravida is the term used for a woman who's not yet been pregnant. So I'm an old woman trying to get pregnant. When I hear that, I think back when I was younger, like my granny trying to have a baby.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't bring the warm and fuzzy love, like connectedness, like it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to create a child. You
Yeah.
need that love and support, and there's just so many other stressors. There's the relationship, there's the work, there's especially the North American women, Canada and the US, productivity at work. Work, work, work. The work to live, live to work. I don't care which way you say it, with the connotation I hear both, it's work, it's not life. There's no balance.
Yeah.
And, I help women see the different steps that they can take and to make those shifts happen, because it doesn't need to be climbing a mountain. My mom used to say, you can take, baby steps and still climb that Mount Everest. You just take it one day at a time and do what you can from where you are with what you have. So if what you have isn't much, and the peanut gallery around you is feeding you things that are not serving you, like when you go to plant a seed, you got to have nice soil, you got to water it, you got to fertilize it, you got to give it sunlight, and you check on it. You pull out the weeds. We want to do the same with our bodies. So we want to, let some of that external peanut gallery go as much as we can and work on our internal peanut gallery. And
Yeah.
you can hear me saying, the biggest peanut in the gallery, I'm going to help crack this nut. You can do this. I believe in you.
Yeah.
When I hear enough of that, I
Yeah.
believe, I
Yeah.
believe.
And so many women, I know in a chapter in your book, so many people believe in the diagnosis or the label that they got too. And that can be, I know that you talk about that in your book, instead of believing in themselves and that potential and that ability, they believe the label they got stuck on them, and they're like, oh well, I guess I'm this. And so you talk about, I know you talk about that, like you're not your diagnosis, I think is the
Diagnosis. You're so beyond that, and we help. I help women move through that so that they can really turn that experience around for themselves, and they're having babies.
awesome. So good. So you mentioned about age and being 35 and that. Why is age such a big deal? Why is that? Yeah, why is that important?
Well, the medicalization of women's health, normal processes, the reproduction, is that you're high risk. They've done all these studies, they look at all these things, and that's a statistic, that is a number. You do not have to be that number. You don't have to follow that. So if you're believing in that, that's the challenge. And there's the numbers out there where they're saying, yes, I have less eggs at that age. It's like lotto. You only need one ticket to win.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And so the other piece is, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot, the medicalization, because assisted reproductive technologies, when you hit 35 to 40, your success rates are only about 20-25%. When you're younger, they only get as high as, they're not even 50% even, right? Hello. A
Wow.
woman over 40 has 10% or less chance of getting pregnant with assisted reproductive technologies, meaning IVF and all those other techniques, drugs, all those other therapies. 10% success. Like, depending where you are, you're paying $10, $20, $25,000 to have this work for you, and you're going to get a 10% success.
Yeah.
38, maybe you're up to 20%. What kind of odds are that?
Yeah.
Let's maximize what you need, depending on where you are on that queue of testing or not. And maybe you will need that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But don't you want that first one time to be successful? And then it does get easier. The second time you talked about is just infinitely easier than the first, because you've got that neuroplasticity, that brain pathway of success. I've had a success. I've had a success. So it's we're making those shifts, but it's an uphill battle, and every one woman at a time.
Well, and even if you're on that track, don't you want to be the one, the 10 out of 10, as opposed to the 9 that aren't? Like, let's do whatever we can to increase the odds of that, giving us the result, because it's like, it's all or none. At the end of it, it's either you are pregnant or you're not pregnant. You have a baby or you don't have a baby. It's so, the odds are, you want to increase the odds, but what you're really wanting is the baby. And so do whatever, if you're going to all that trouble, let's give it everything we've got and do everything that we can to go in your favor of things that working. I know that you talk a lot about helping women take back their power. And, in medicine, we have lots of acronyms, and you have like an ABCs of for helping women take back their power in this regard. You want to share what that is?
Yeah. So I learned a lot of things by, memorizing and the process. And you think about, you learn your ABCs with school and learning words and talking. And it's like, well, let's get back to the basics. A
Mhm.
is awareness. What are you noticing? What are you aware of? And most people, when they take a moment to think about what they think about, and the technical word for that is metacognition, and there's a whole science on that. When you notice what you notice, when you work on your awareness and realize, oh my gosh, I am so negative about this, it's no wonder I'm not having any success. Then until you notice that, you can't change that.
Right.
So that's powerful in itself. That's the first thing. The B is the breath. You don't breathe, you don't live.
Mhm.
So people say to me, yeah, but I breathe all the time. It's automatic. I don't have to think about it. And therein lies the second piece with the breath. The quality of your breathing, I believe, firmly dictates the quality of your life, your health and wellness. So if you take beautiful breaths, you have that mindfulness with your breath, they go hand in hand. Your awareness, breath, mindfulness, boom, you're 3 to 4 steps further up the ladder of success. And the third piece, the C, is choices. And we have choice. You get to decide. We're different than all the other animals that are going around. We get to choose. Are we going to I want to get pregnant this month so I can have a baby then, so I can do this, so I can. We have so many choices. But when the choices come in the packaging of a challenge, the choices become, oh my gosh, and that fear, freeze, fight response of their body to shut down, turn off, gets ramped up, and that calm, rest, digest, create, procreate
Yes.
doesn't work. So those vital organs that, we're evolutionarily created to, be safe from the fire, watch out for the water and the waves, and, the hunter, the lion's gonna, the saber-toothed tiger is coming.
Yeah.
We're vigilant for that. And that's where that negativity comes into play. So you are wired for that. It's just taking a step back, noticing your awareness, working with the breath. What are my choices? And leaning into that, I'm going to turn on my rest, digest, create mode so that I can up level my reproductive tract. Because, when you're trying to run away from the saber-toothed tiger, and nowadays it is the bills, the finances, your relationship, the drive, commute to work, the cell phone going off all the time, whatever the bill that comes in the mail. There are so many more of these stressors that are life threatening, perceived to be. We have a choice to see them that way or just go, oh yeah, oh yeah, and
Yeah.
then let our reproductive tract and the rest of our body come into play, because you don't procreate when the saber-toothed tiger's chasing you.
Right.
So we're not getting pregnant now.
Yeah, it's innate to say hostile environment. It's not the place to bring life into the world here. We're not going to do that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think most women currently, modern day, with all the stresses, are in a hostile environment most of the time, and that is yeah. So those are great tips in itself for people. A lot of times what I do is when I have experts in their field on and do these health coach TV interviews, I always say, hey, got any tips for people who are listening in who might be struggling with fertility? So you already shared, but if you have anything else that you want to share with our viewers about, if there's a woman here and she's like, okay, this is really great, but what am I supposed to do? Okay, I can do this. All right, she knows, and it's gonna be more than that. So what are some tips that they can do now?
Well, she heard, well, I'm already breathing. Okay, what is it about that? And because breath is number one. Breath to me is absolutely number one. Let's work with your breath. There's so many tools out there, the techniques. I like to use it, and I call it the 2x4. And not that you have to knock yourself over the head with the 2x4 to figure it out and do it, but the analogy is there. So the breath is, you will take a breath in, pause, exhale, and have a pause. And the counts are this. The 2x4 count comes into play. We breathe in for 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll retain that breath in and pause for 1 and then 2. And then we'll exhale the same, 4, 3, 2, 1. And pause or retain that breath out for the 2 and 1. And then we'll repeat that cycle. And so you'll do the in for 4, pause for 2, out for 4, pause for 2 is one breath. We want to do 4 of those. And then you'll do a set of 4. So that's one set. And then you're going to do a second set. Once you've done that first set, you're going to adjust in your seat, and then you're going to adjust your shoulders. You're going to, relax your neck, and, do maybe a big breath in and big blow out to go, okay, that first set I got done because I had to get it done. The second set is that mindful set. So it's the exact same thing, but you're just really getting a bit deeper. It balances the brain, it relaxes the body, and your body goes, ooh, she's relaxing. Rest, digest, create.
Yeah.
And it's so fantastic. And it's yes, it's simple. Yes, it's actually easy to do. And the pro tip is to tie it to another thing that you do already. So do you eat breakfast, lunch, and supper and go to bed? There's 4 times. So there's your 4 sets in a run of a day. If not, do you go to the bathroom 4 times a day? I bet you do. So before you leave the bathroom, you do a set. Right?
So they don't have to be all in a row. It could be throughout your day. So that's good for people to know. And the one thing that it's it's like I've been looking into breathing, and why is that so effective? It's clear that it is. The studies say that it show that it is. And part of it is because when you're focusing on breathing, like intentionally like that, a couple of things, we get our parasympathetic activated and rest, digest, procreate. So that's one thing. So that's reason enough. But also when you're thinking about that, when you're focusing on your breathing, you're not thinking. And so you've replaced the monkey mind with this action. So, and then you'll notice, if anybody's ever noticed, when they're really like thinking, like they're like really working on a problem and they're really thinking hard, sometimes you stop breathing. Have you ever noticed, like if people have ever noticed that, they're like really like, and then they're holding their breath. So you're either breathing or you're thinking. And so how do you stop the thought? Focus on your breathing. So it works both ways. So it is, it might sound simple, but it's powerful. And, the proof is in the results that you deliver. So yeah. What other tips?
Well, the other one is water. We are on average 65% water. Men are a little bit different than women, but the big thing that people don't know or are aware of is what organs are how much. So there is, some gold standards of your weight in pounds divided by 2 is the number of ounces. So, a 160-pound woman needs 80 ounces of water a day. That's 8 ounces is a cup, so that's 10 cups. Mm-hmm. So, metric here in Canada, that's 2.5 liters. So that's great. Does she exercise? She needs to do more. She needs to replace that. She drink coffee. That's a diuretic. So she needs to replace that amount with extra water. She's having 2 cups of coffee, or she's having 2, large Tim Hortons. She needs 2 large Tim Hortons. She needs 6 more cups of water, because your fallopian tubes, like your digestive tract, like your lungs, are 80% water, and we want them to work well. Your brain is 85% water. So if you're not drinking enough water and you're feeling stressed and anxious, you also have brain fog and you can't think well. And that vicious cycle of that just pulls you down even more. So get out a calendar, get out something, whatever tool. I've heard all sorts of things. A variety of different things, but one thing that I love, the pro tip that I would give with this is, when you get up in the morning, I do the, quick gratitude, run to the bathroom, and then I'm ready for the next thing. Before I leave the washroom, I have 2 cups of my water, 2 of my 10 right away before I do anything else. Why? I want to prime myself for the day. So while everything else is getting ready for the morning, I've got 2 cups of water into me.
Yeah.
And really, you got to look at how much coffee you drink, because you're negating your balance, your water balance. You're on a seesaw. Oh, I've had it. Oh, I don't. Oh, I've had it. Oh, I don't. Well, I had 6 cups of water today, and I also had 3 cups of coffee. So you're really only at 3 cups of water.
Yeah. Yes. And I think it's huge. I was looking outside today in the backyard, and when we moved into this place, we planted a bunch of cedars. And all along the fence line, and they weren't even above the fence. And now they're just towering, and they're, they're over twice as high as the fence was, maybe 3 times. And it's not that long of a time. And I was just amazed at how quickly those cedars had grown, but not all of them grew the same. So you could see where the sprinkler was. So like we have an in-ground sprinkler, right? And so the ones that are closest to the water grew better. And so you know, the ones that are nourished, and you think about planting seeds, and everything that you're talking about is literally creating fertile ground for that seed, that baby, to grow. And you know, the water makes a difference, the sunshine makes a difference for these plants, and for us too. Like it really, the water makes such a difference. It's so basic. It's easy to do, easy not to do, and almost no one is getting the amount of water. And it's easy when you're focused on your job and your work. I realize that, you know, I'm all day on Zooms talking to clients, you know, doing interviews, all these things that I have a water bottle, a glass beside me all day, but I stopped. It was harder. I noticed I wasn't keeping track.
Yes.
So I had to go back to my little elastic band trick of like, I'm wanting 4 liters. So I need 6 of these. So I put 6 elastic bands on, and every time I down one, then, you know, that's how many, you know, water bottles that I've had, so I can track it. And I think it's important. And I noticed that I wasn't getting it in. I wasn't getting it in. And so even when you know better, you're not always doing better. So, but it helps to know what to do, and then but making a difference. And I don't think a lot of women think that drinking water has anything to do with their fertility. But when you think about plants and you think about other things growing, you know, if you're like, oh, I'm going to get these flowers or plants to grow, what do? You water it. You plant it in good soil, you nourish it, and then you water it. And
absolutely. Look at your potters, for example. Instead of whatever's in the ground that can get rainwater, if you make separate pots for your plants to put out on your patio or whatever,
yes,
you don't water them enough. If it's sunny and hot and you don't give them extra water, what happens? That
yes,
happens, you know, water balance regulates, you know, as I said, the brain. It regulates your thyroid, it regulates your mood, it regulates your digestive tract, it regulates your reproductive hormones, it
yes,
regulates your elimination. It regulates absolutely everything.
yes.
How do you do that? And it's cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And it lubricates the joints, and it hydrates the skin. And if you notice it hydrating your skin, now what about the internal mucosa of your reproductive tract?
Absolutely.
It's the same thing.
Right
Yep.
lungs and dry skin, there's no surprise, but you may not think your skin is dry. Try drinking a lot more water and seeing how even more lush and beautiful and amazing and, you know, brilliant you look. That's going to be the outside reflects the inside. Uh,
Yes.
so get on your water. Get on your
Yeah.
water.
Yeah. And especially also when people are stressed or are exercising, their heart rate's up, they're breathing more, they're losing more water. And just like when you're saying, like, we're a coffee culture, everybody's over at Starbucks, and I used to carry around my coffee like a soother. As a radiologist, I couldn't stop for a coffee break. So I settled for the coffee, and I just walked around with this half cold coffee all day, and it was crazy, and that added to the stress, and adds to the hostile environment of things. So yeah, so really great. You've helped women become pregnant, so not just you but others. Tell
Yes.
us a little bit. But when the thing that I know is, once you start helping people in one way, there's some spin-off benefits. So, you might be trying to get pregnant, but there's going to be some other bonuses that happen. So I always like to hear a couple of stories about, a client that, you've worked with, and they got some, bonus spin-off benefits.
Absolutely, yes. My 2 recent clients that I can share with you their example. One woman, 39, going through my program, really, really stressed with what was going on. She had a lot of work and other stress, although we were doing all the things and would love to have the baby. She actually did the first and second part of my program. The first part, at the end of that, she goes, there's got to be more. She was seeing changes, and it's like, I don't want this to end. And so when she re-enrolled, that's where we saw, the bigger results. She had less stress than at work. She was able to advance in her career path with work. She also got pregnant. And the other piece that they did while all this was going on was they had thought that they would want to retire out in BC, British Columbia. And they were living in Ontario at the time. And they moved out to BC. They decided to make it happen. All the things that they were doing, because she and her husband, because of the timing of the sessions, he was home from work and hearing stuff in the background while he was making, while she was listening, and he was listening while he was making supper, and it was fantastic. So they both decided, why should we wait? Like, some of the things that I was talking about for the mindfulness piece really hit home for them, because they were already both really super healthy, very athletic, very outgoing. Half my program they had already been doing, but she already saw success. And the advancement in her firm with her position, the move, getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Top that's a triple win there.
Yeah. So 39 and able to get pregnant, that in itself, I mean, if that's all that it was, but then, yeah, rather than why put off the good stuff till retirement, enjoy life now, make it the way you want it now, live where you want now, and just, seize the day. Anybody else that you have, I think you said a couple, I think so.
I do. I have another client, love her. I know her from before. She's 40. And loves her job, doing great with a job, had an amazing husband, but she had 2 miscarriages and a failed IVF cycle. They were struggling all around, as well as with his low sperm count. And they really were wondering, were they going to do anything again? The cost of all this stuff. It was not so much, it's hard on the relationship. It wasn't tearing them apart, but it was tearing them down. Yeah. And so she decided to enroll, and working through the program, similar thing, my sessions, my group sessions, and the girls obviously, out in the living room or doing whatever, they've got these nice husbands who are making supper for them those nights. And he was listening, and his sperm count improved. They did another round of IVF. They bit the bullet and did it. She is due next month.
Awesome. So got pregnant, baby's almost here. And so how wonderful. Because I remember when you told me that story, and I'm like, so I'm working with them, and then she's pregnant, and, and his sperm count improved. I'm like, wait a minute, you worked with her. How did working with her improve his sperm count? And because sometimes, I mean, that causes a rift in the relationship too. Is it your fault? Is it your fault? There's all that whole stuff. And like, you don't want to blame anyone, but and so if there's a woman here and she's really wanting to get pregnant and she's got this awesome husband, but it's okay. Like what you're talking about is helpful regardless. It's helpful if you don't have fertility issues, but it's going to be, it's everything. And so how
this can help same-sex couples, because they're going to go in and utilize some of these techniques, and they want that one shot does all as well, right?
Yeah.
So this is not limited to just one woman herself having challenges. It's this program is broad-based. It's looking at every potential party involved, so we can make sure that you are having a great party at the end of it. That is success for all.
So good. So good. The work you do is so important. And this is such a powerful story. And I just love your story. I mean, it was hard when you were going through that, but now what you're able to assist women with, it's really the most precious thing ever. And I just commend you, because it's not easy to, hey, I left a medical career. It's not easy to leave a medical career, because people are like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And it's like, you know what? I saw a need. And the reason I became a doctor in the first place was to help people live their longest, healthiest, happiest lives. And I think I can do it in a different way. Like there's lots of people doing it the usual way, but there was a gap and there's a need, and I'm happy to fill it, because my life experience, your life experience, it's a perfect match, and it's almost like it was meant to be. It's almost like it was meant to be this way. So I mean, you're just such a gem, Karen, and I just thank you. So if people are listening and they're like, well, this sounds good, but I wonder if she's encountered somebody like me or with my scenario. I love that you threw in there about same-sex couples, because they probably really didn't think you'd be able to help with that. And absolutely. And so I really like where you shared about the husband's sperm count improving too, because if the woman's cooking in or whatever, whoever's cooking, it sounds like these men are cooking. Well, that you should have a class on that. How do they get that to happen? But they're probably eating similar things, maybe not exactly the same things, but whoever's grocery shopping or whatever's going on the grocery list, whoever's bringing it into the house,
I'm a checker on that.
there's spillover, right? There's spillover. So they're gonna start to get swept up in the healthy movement. Or if she's walking, maybe he's going with her. Or if she's drinking more water, maybe he's gonna just drink more water too. And all of those kind of things that start to, all shift for the better. So if people are wanting to get in touch with you, Dr. Karen, what is the best way for them to do that if they have questions or questions, or just want to connect with you? How's best to do that?
Oh, thank you. Well, they can connect with me on my site, Conceive with Karen, www.conceivewithkaren, Karen.com. And there's, my book is there. There's other informational things there, and my calendar is there. So if you think, obviously your situation is unique to you, but if you are willing to share where you are with your journey, I am ready to, have a listen and see what we can do together.
Awesome. That's great. And yes, your book, Pincushion to Pregnant, on Amazon, or that's probably where I would start to look there, or if for that. Are you on any social media at all? If people want to follow you at all, or do you do that? Or
absolutely, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram with Conceive with Karen. I have a LinkedIn page, and I'm a little bit older, so I'm learning to navigate all this social media stuff as well. So depending on when people find this, there may be more platforms, different platforms that I'm available to find. But Conceive with Karen, Dr. Karen, finding me on Facebook, you'll have success.
Awesome. What is on Facebook? How can they find you? What's the name? Is it Karen Stillman or Dr. Karen Stillman?
Karen Stillman right now is the one to find. My personal page, which there's links I have to my other ones, and once you find me there, you send me a message. Oh, I see you here, but I was wondering about this. Oh, well, no, I will reach out to you. Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome.
I just so believe it is my mission to help every woman who believes, who just desires to have that baby, shift that belief that they can't do, they can, and so they can conceive. And it's not just conceive, it's to have that baby. They get to go from having the thoughts of those babies in their heads and in their hearts to they actually get to hold them in their arms. And that's just, I'm so grateful to be able to do this.
Awesome. Well, it's just been fabulous to have you here. I think you're going to get to be a lot busier. So, if you don't hear from her, the best is just to reach out to Conceive with Karen, but she is around as well if you're looking for some tips and things. So conceivewithkaren.com, CONCEIVE with Karen.com. So it was an absolute pleasure, Dr. Karen, and thank you all for listening. And if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to watch more episodes on Health Coach TV. If there is a topic that you are interested in and you would like us to cover, feel free to pop that in the comments too. Happy to reach out to some of these experts in the field and share their amazing tips. So with that, have a fantastic day. And as always, be good for you.